If you didn't get the web address and you were absent yesterday, for example, Walker, you were absent yesterday, you're going to want to go to this new website that we have these days that the Web Design 2 class is building, ohse28.appspot.com/programming. You don't necessarily have to go to /programming. You could just go to classes, drop that down, and go right to programming, and that would take you there. What you're going to want to do is download the Chapter 2 Java Programming by Joyce Farrell, and we're going to be working out of that book today from page 76. If you were to look at that book, you're going to discover that the page numbers are in little boxes on the sides. Let's just see if I can pull that up for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about here. Hang on a minute here. Here it is. It's going to take it a minute. It's a big file. So yeah, the pages are kind of these little squares like this. So just so you have the heads up about that, don't look down here at the bottom of the pages. All right, so we're going to be looking at that page today because I'm going to teach you something called the scanner class. You've been using System Out Print for pretty much since we met each other at the beginning of the year. However, there's a way of doing a system in which you take user information from a user and do whatever you want to do with it. Other than a dialog box, this is done pretty much in the console. You've got to import a utility in order to be able to use the scanner class. So at the very beginning of your application, you're going to have to do an import java.util.scanner. Alright, so you can go ahead and make this if you want. Make it in your Farrell Chapter 2 folder that you made the other day. So again, if you didn't get to that, you would go File, New, Java Project, and when your Java project thing came up, just call it Farrell Chap 2. Now of course I can't call that because a project with this name already exists because I already did it, but that's how you would go ahead and do that. Alright, so you're going to call this Get User Info. This is just the kind of dummy code that gets put in when those are the Java docs. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure that when you make this class, check off that little box. Remember? Okay, so new. If I were to make a new class, make sure you check the little public static void main string args box because that's what we're going to be doing in this particular application. This is not ACM. I'm going to set up a couple of variables and objects. I've got a string name. Remember, a string is an object. I've got int age, an integer variable called age. And then I'm going to do something called setting up a constructor out of the scanner. Alright, so remember when we had that question on the midterm, what is a constructor? Please show me how to make a constructor. Whenever you see this keyword right here, new, that's a keyword. Whenever you see that keyword, it's pretty good chances that you're dealing with a constructor. And what the heck is a constructor again? Okay, so let's assume that we all were little kids at one point in our lives and we had Play-Doh, all right? And you probably had one of those things where you put the Play-Doh in the bucket and then you smush it down with a big smushy thing, and maybe there's some different shapes and it spits out star shapes and it spits out diamond shapes and maybe it spits out spaghetti, and it's like this gigantic extrusion thing, okay? And it's like the original 3D printer and you didn't even know you were using it. But the truth of the matter is that if you were going to make like 50 little stars using your Play-Doh smushy thing, the fact is that each one of those stars looks pretty much exactly alike if you did a good job making them, but they're not exactly the same. They're made out of a mold. So you can think of making things, or you can think of constructing things out of pre-existing objects exactly the same way. You start out with a pre-existing object, which is the scanner. It's kind of like a mold, and what you do is you smush out whatever you want to smush out. So there's scanner input device. I could go scanner input device 2 equals new scanner system dot in, and I'd probably be set to jet. See? I haven't read it, obviously. I'm going to get my little warning code that's going to tell me the local variable input device 2 is never read, simply because I haven't initialized it down to anything here. You know, I could say input device 2 right there, and then that would take care of that, wouldn't it? And I have an input device here, so that would take care of that one. But I'm not going to do it that way. I'm just showing you that you can make up as many of these things as you want. I could make up 5,000 scanner input devices as long as they weren't all named the same thing. I could name it Bob too if I wanted to. I could go ahead right here and I could go Bob. I could name my scanner Bob if I wanted to, but look what happens over here when I do that. Name equals input device dot next line. Well, I would have to change this to Bob as well, and this to Bob. Now, why is that? Well, the reason this is for this reason. I've made a scanner. I've named it Bob. All right. It's just like, let's say you had a computer scanner plugged into your computer and you decided for some weird reason to name it Bob. Same deal. Equals new scanner. Okay. System in. So it's basically saying this is going to be a new scanner, and its purpose in life is going to be to read in information. Okay. Very good. Here is my first prompt that gets spit out of my new scanner. System.out.print. You know what that means. Please enter your name. Now, we don't know what the person's name is going to be. So we're going to want to read whatever the person enters into the scanner and initialize that name object to whatever the person enters into Bob. So whatever the person enters into Bob, Bob is going to get the next line of text that the person entered in and pass it to the object variable name. Okay. Now I'm not really liking naming my scanner Bob. I'm going to go back to naming my scanner input device for the time being. You get my idea here. But here's another prompt: systemout.print. Please enter your age. Now this is a way of gathering information from the user, and I really want you to see what's happening here. We're going to set up that age integer variable, and we're going to use our input device, our scanner, good old Bob, and we're going to call the next int method this time instead of the next line method, because now we're dealing with an integer variable. Now remember when I kept yelling at you about object.method? Here's an object. We've created an object called input device. We're going to use a dot method call on it to get the information from the user and pass that to the age variable. All right. So once we get all that done, what we're going to do is print out the stuff that we gathered from the user. System.out.println, and we're going to pass a literal string into the parameters. Your name is. We're going to do some concatenation here. There it is, concatenation. We're going to concatenate the name variable to a literal string that says your name is, and then we're going to concatenate another literal string to that, plus the age variable, plus another literal string. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 instances of concatenation. Okay. Now if I were to go ahead and run this, let's just see what happens here. It's going to run in the console. Here we go. We're waiting. We're waiting. Ah, there we go. Please enter your name. No, I just thought of a weird way to fake this thing out. I'm not going to, though. I'm just going to enter a name. I could enter my name is, and it would print out my name is probably, which is not my name. My name is not my name is, but let's just enter a name here. Let's enter Juliana. That's not my name, but that's okay. Please enter your age, Juliana. Let's say she's 18 years old. Your name is Juliana and you are 18 years old. And that, my dear friends, is a demonstration of the scanner class. And please make it for yourselves and have it in your Feral Chapter 2 folder. Thank you very much.